Let's talk about a deal that has been done. Jack Grealish is a Manchester City player after breaking that British record, £100 million, making that move from Aston Villa to City. Craig, I know this is a player that you really like.
Yeah, I do like him, yeah. And you know, it's a shame for Villa, but, you know, he's got big aspirations and so have City. You know, a big clamber for him to be in the England team during the Euros on a regular basis. Didn't quite happen for him. But like a lot of players that go to City, and I think about, you know, even De Bruyne, I think about Sterling, and there are others, Kyle Walker, many, many more. This manager improves you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know, Riyad Mahrez went in, and he was a bit slack to start with after his Leicester career, and he was too many touches, and kind of Guardiola hammered that out of him. And I think here we have a player who's super talented and can get better. And I think he's going to work under him. Not that Dean Smith is not a great manager, but the City manager is one of the cream. And he works with players and he gets the extra bit out of players. And if he does that with Jack Grealish, he's got an even better player.
What difference does he make? What does he bring to?
Well, I think he's going to have to add more in the final third. You know, the pressure's on for end product, for goals, for assists, for just fitting in with the team play, with the pressing game, all that goes with it. So he is going to have to. Listen, even for Jack Grealish, this is a new level for him, right? It's a new level of going in, and it's like looking around the Villa team and you know you're the top dog.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you walk in here and you have a couple of bad games, your chin's on the floor, right? Because you're out, right? And you're now doubting yourself, and so it's a big pressure for him. The price tag, what is expected of him, his teammates what they expect, his manager what they expect, what he expects, and I think it's a big pressure on the lad. But I think he's good enough. What extra will he give them? Somebody that can take the ball in, you know, beats people, is strong in possession, can attract players around him. He's very physical. We know, if you like the stats, he's fouled a lot, but somebody that can go past. And I think they have got those kind of players to an extent, but he gives them, I don't know, something a little bit different to Bernardo Silva and Riyad Mahrez and Raheem Sterling and players, and even Phil Foden, players of that ilk.
I think where he differs from Raheem Sterling, and as per that lineup that we just had up on the screen, whereas Raheem Sterling, because of his pace, he can get in behind teams and stretch his defences. Grealish is a whole lot better in tight spaces. So when teams sit in the box and crowd the box, Grealish, I think that's when Grealish is at his best. At the same time, you've also seen Kevin De Bruyne miss a few games because of injury over the last couple of seasons, and City haven't looked as good without him. Grealish can sit centrally, can be that focus of your attack, play a little bit deeper as well, and be the creative spark in midfield if that happens with Kevin De Bruyne yet again. So I think it ticks a lot of boxes for Pep Guardiola.
And a big pressure on a player who performed well last year in Gundogan, who for some reason will go back over it again, but that crazy decision in the Champions League final to play him in this deeper position when he had his best ever goal-scoring season. So I think, as Shaka mentioned, you've got Grealish who can bridge the two things. He can be an attacking player, he can be a deeper player, and he can add goals to his game, even more goals, and that will take the pressure off people like Gundogan, and it will give the manager even more options. So yeah, I think I don't think 100 million is great, but I think it's a great signing.
Luis, how highly do you rate Jack Grealish?
Big player, and the guys just mentioned. I mean, he's one of those players who's got the full package. He can control the ball, he can pass players, he can score goals, and I think the most important is that creativity he brings up front. He's a player who knows very well how to get into the pockets and break lines. And last year, I think at some point, Manchester City struggled so much to break lines of defense. And this is a player who knows exactly the turns that he does with the body, with the control. Is just fantastic. He knows where the spaces are. He can combine. He can assist players. And he's so versatile. You can play in the middle. You can play in the wide areas. You can play as a false nine. That is a way that Pep Guardiola loves to play players. So I think it's a good add to this team. Yeah, 100 million is a lot. But when you are trying to find the perfect, because they got everything, and you guys mentioned it, they got so many players in so many different positions. But if you had to bring a perfect player for those kind of scenes that Pep Guardiola likes, you know you're going to have to spend, because it's going to be young, and get all the spots to play. Skillful, technique, fight, good stamina. So everything, he's got everything. So I think it's a fantastic signing for Pep Guardiola team.
That deal done then, Gab. Meanwhile, we were talking yesterday as it was almost an inevitability that Lukaku could be returning to Chelsea. Has that somewhat stalled over the last 24 hours?
Hasn't necessarily stalled. Obviously, there was a big backlash, including from the fans. The ownership group, Stephen Jang, certainly briefing that, well, they certainly want to keep Lukaku. I think, numbers are pretty obvious. And I think Inter's line here is, we value him at a very, very high price. The 130 million euro number has been thrown out there. I think for 130 million, as much as you value Lukaku, he is 28 years old. And I think at that point, especially given the club's financial situation, the question becomes, okay, for that money, you sell, but how do you reinvest it into the team? Because that is what the fans want. I think the fans understand that you have to make sacrifices, but the guy you were going to sacrifice was Achraf Hakimi. At this point, we don't want players to be sold and then you take the money and use it to pay down debt or other things. So we want to see reinvested in the team. And I think that's kind of what has sort of put this on hold a little bit. I think also from Inter's perspective, they've been clear. They've said, we value him at this number. You offered considerably less than that. So let's sit back and let's see if you reach our valuation. Remember, too, Lukaku is not aching to get out of the club. He's very happy in Milan. He's made it very clear that he's very happy in Milan. And he's happy to stay in Milan. So, without the club, but without the player pushing for a move, I think at this stage, it really would have to be Chelsea meeting Inter's valuation or coming close to it or putting some package together that works for Inter. And at the same time, Inter lining up replacements that will maybe not satisfy the fans, but at least will stop them from, coming around with pitchforks and torches around the San Siro.
Chelsea's need is great. That and Inter will know that Chelsea are actively, desperate is the wrong word, but, really aggressively seeking a front man. We know he's not the number one target, but we know who was. That's a difficult one to get over the line. As Gab said, the guy's happy over there. He looked happy in the way he played. He was successful. But Inter are needing the money, or they're struggling for the money. So it's a game of bluff here. I think 130 million euros is too high, but it depends on Chelsea's desperation. And if they are going to challenge, and that is the hope, having looked at what, from the Chelsea fans, having looked at what Tuchel did in his time in charge and with the Champions League and with the other pieces of the jigsaw, they're going to need that front man. Unless Timo Werner all of a sudden steps up, or all of a sudden you think Kai Havertz can play as a natural sort of number 9 for a whole season, don't think so. You're going to need a guy. And also, if he does come back to Chelsea, I don't think he's got anything to prove to Chelsea, because when they got rid of him, it was different people. But I do think there's a certain club north in England who, at Old Trafford, who were quite quick to discard him. And I think if he did come back, he would be looking to drive Chelsea to success and stick 2 fingers up to Manchester United.
Lewis, if they get Romelu Lukaku, does that make them a better side than Liverpool? Does it make them the title challengers to Manchester City?
I think that we can call it a better side. I think they are a fantastic side. We saw them last year. There is an ad that is going to have a player like this one is going to give you something. I think they got enough to be contenders, to be challenging for winning the trophies. But of course, this kind of player, they are going to add you 25, 30 goals in a season. Of course, it's going to make you better and probably compete even easier against the top teams for next year, Manchester City, Manchester United and Liverpool. So we'll see what happens, because I still think there is going to be more moves. If this situation of Lionel Messi is going to maybe change something with Harry Kane, Lukaku, Tammy Abraham, I think he's also in the middle, because one of the centre forwards of Chelsea is going to be maybe involved in another change. I think that we still a little bit more to see if Lukaku is going to move to Chelsea. I think the more things are going to happen. Inter Milan wants to win as well Champions League. So if you want to win a trophy like that one, not only the domestic league, you need the best players, the best striker, the best midfielder. And Lukaku is one of them. At least he showed it last year. So I'm not sure if Inter is ready to leave Lukaku.
if he does make this move or whatever, you're going to have some fun, aren't you?
What, with your fellow countryman?
Yeah, I hope he's watching this.
Right, we got to let Gab get back on his holiday. Gab, before we let you go...
I can't believe he's come off his holiday for this.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.